Hey, Laverne.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Very good.
Hey, Nancy.
Hey, how are you, Chris? Hi,
Oh,
Laverne.
Hi, Nancy.
Happy summer.
I know.
yeah.
It's
Hot.
almost here.
It's hot today.
Yeah. Hard to believe it's August 1st, huh?
I know. It goes by fast, doesn't it?
Too fast.
We'll be sowing pumpkins soon.
I know. Then it's
Oh,
Christmas trees, and then you're
yeah,
off to Palm Springs. Yeah?
that's right. Palm Springs, you're right.
Yeah.
Couple weeks. I went to Bar Harbor for 2 days. I just got back at 5 o'clock, driving like a maniac from the traffic. But
Ah,
it's so beautiful in Bar Harbor. It's far though.
it is.
Far.
It is far. It is far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was just, such a beautiful place. Yeah.
Did you go on those carriage paths in the Rockefeller Park?
No, we just
Oh,
walked along. We had lunch at the dinner at the Bahaba Inn,
yeah.
overlooking the water, the boats there. I mean, yeah, and shopping up and down those little streets and having ice cream and delicious food. Yeah, we were just there for 2 days. Went up to Cadillac Mountain,
Nice.
drove around up there.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Very good.
Hi, George.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of Bar Harbor. I was there, good Lord, in 1965, and I've not been back since.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
I was in secondary school then. Uh, it
yeah.
is marvelous. It
It's
really
just
is.
beautiful. It really is. Just there's water everywhere, the islands out there, and the boats coming in, and the ferries. Just really special place. It was fun.
The
Well,
first time.
welcome, George.
Well, yes, you know, it was just so much fun being on the planning board for 11 years. I just,
Couldn't wait to come back, huh?
you bet.
Good. We need some good men like you, and
Oh,
women. I shouldn't say that, but
you
anybody
got
who's
it.
willing to fight for our town. Yeah,
Yes,
good. Welcome.
it's the best town around. It really is.
How how long have you lived here?
Well, we bought here in 1985. It was right
Okay.
after Amy Peabody had died, and
Oh,
the trustees sold houses on Powissa Street. And we
okay.
were lucky enough to get this beautiful little farm across from their big farm. And
Nice.
no, it's just been wonderful. This is our hometown. I've not lived longer anywhere else.
Yeah,
It is good.
You don't
very
still
good.
you don't still have your horses and your mules, do you? Or your donkeys, do you?
Well, you know what? I've got a big farm down in Aiken, South Carolina, and
Ah,
that is, although I must say, it is so nice to be up here in the summer. It's got to
Must.
be 100 degrees a lot of days. But yeah, the animals are down there, and then a lot of the horses now are in Saratoga because we do get involved in racing. I got pulled into that by my sister Ann, who's got a great farm there. She stands 4 best stallions in New York, and she's won the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness, and yeah, she is Skidmore's most famous dropout. She left senior year
yeah.
and decided that was it. She was going to start a horse farm, and her uh, young boyfriend at the time, who's been her husband, and they've got 5 kids, 18 grandkids. They decided to start a horse business. And
Wow.
it's a fabulous success story. I mean, the New York Times has written about her because, yeah, at this point, um, they've got, I think right now, 400 horses on their farms up there, and they foaled 130 babies this year, and it's just so exciting. It really is. So they dragged Uncle George into this, and that's why I'm still working part time.
Good, keep
Horses,
working.
horses eat
Yeah.
cash.
Hmm.
But are there any horse people in this group here?
George, I think you and I ran into each other years ago. I used to,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah, do a little bit, but gave that up. It's well beyond my expenses.
Well, yeah, it also gets way beyond your body and your joints and
Yeah,
everything else. Yeah,
that's the least of my, yeah.
you got it. No more
Oh,
fences for me. Uh, but
all right. Well, it's 7:02. We want to, Laverne, do you want to open it up and maybe get to our first item?
Yes, do I have my first item listed here? The first item is welcoming
Just
George
yeah, the
Chimento.
agenda,
You did
in
send
front of you.
it, but I don't think I printed it all. I was just
Oh,
reading it.
that's okay.
Didn't realize there was only. We're gonna welcome George Chimento and we're going to vote him in as the chairman. Is that correct?
No, I think
Yes, yeah.
don't we do the
Called.
citizens' comments and the acceptance of minutes first, or no?
Yep,
Okay. Oh, yeah, I did see that. I saw all those things. I just couldn't print them because my printer didn't work.
that's all right. Look, Laverne, if
Yes,
you just want
I
to
did read
call
the minutes.
the,
I read the minutes.
yep, call the
Yep.
meeting to order, and maybe we'll start off with a roll call vote for members that are here.
Okay,
And you just
so I
open
call
up, called, yep.
the Board of Appeals, August 1st, 2024, the Board of Appeals meeting on the case of Anthony Oliver, actually, the case is, but 8A and 8 Farm Street. We're having a meeting on that. And yeah.
Yep.
Didn't know I was going to be
Yep.
calling the meeting. I thought,
That's all right. You, yep, and just roll call vote for members and
Yeah.
presence. So obviously, Vern, you're here, but if everybody else could state their attendance, that'd be great.
Nancy Green, associate member.
Nadir Ahmed, member here.
Mike Donovan here.
okay, so everybody's present.
George is here as well.
oh yes,
George-
George Chimento
George
here.
is talking with
Yep.
George, yes.
All right, and I mean, I didn't receive any public comments prior to the meeting, but I'm not sure if anybody in attendance tonight would like to make a comment. Feel free to do so now. If you'd like to. All right, I'm not seeing anybody, so I guess Laverne, we can move on to the items now. I think there's one in particular that we kind of want to tackle, which is reorganizing or discussing the composition of the board and potentially discussion of chairman. So I know that was on the agenda, so maybe we start with that.
Okay, so we've got the two members, would be me and Nadir. And now if George Chimento comes in as the chairman, that will make him a full member?
So George joined. He is filling the vacant seat of Alan Fryer.
Yeah,
So George is a full member. And just to recount things, since Alan had left, Laverne graciously stepped up and got us through the previous hearing and did a fabulous job doing so. But now I think the discussion last time was saying that you would be a temporary chair until we had a full board, which now we do, thanks to George. And thank you, George. So I'll leave the discussion to the board. Just wanted to give a little backstory as to how we arrived here.
and now are we supposed to have the vote?
Well, you can discuss. I mean, Laverne, obviously you wanted to serve in a temporary capacity. So
Yes.
now that we have a full board, I'll leave it up to you all to discuss, who might want to serve as chair going forward in a more permanent basis. So I'll leave that up to you. I know there's 3 members that are eligible, but maybe have a quick thought about who might be willing to do that, and then nominate somebody to do so.
Okay.
Guess
Any other board members want to be chairman of the ZBA?
No,
I guess ask slightly differently. George, are you open to being the chairman of the ZBA?
Yes, I am, my dear.
Good.
That is
Okay,
a
let's
wonderful,
vote.
that is a wonderful thing to hear. I think I would nominate George to serve as the chair of the board of the ZBA. Is there, I guess
I second that.
that,
all right, I guess roll call for votes. I guess Laverne, you're going to start us off.
yes,
Nancy Green, yes.
Mike Donovan, yes.
Nadir Ahmed, yes. So congratulations, George. You get the honor.
Thank you.
well, he said he's already been on the board of the planning board for 11 years, so I think he's got a lot of experience with town government. And I've been on this board for many, many years, but now recently, or last years, you really need someone with more of a lawyer's background. You know, I'm not a lawyer, so I would have done it, but it gets a little difficult. But thank you.
Chris, does that
Okay.
allow George to run the meeting from here?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's fine.
Wonderful.
Okay. I see on the agenda, acceptance of minutes, and there are, now I can't vote on that, obviously, because I was not at the meeting, but those are really extensive. Who
Yes.
prepared those?
Felicia Hoffman, the town clerk, does a fantastic and thorough job preparing the minutes. So
Okay.
I'd like to
Oh
thank
my
anybody
goodness.
who prepared.
All right. Now we'll, who is going, and I guess for organization, what we would normally do is we've got a chairman. At other committees and boards, you have a secretary who normally would be in charge of the minutes. But in this, is that something that the Board of Appeals has done here?
Historically,
I think historically, Felicia watches the Zoom recording and takes the minutes and has been doing that for several years. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
And then she used to send them over to Alan, and he would make any edits or refine them in some way.
Oh, that's fine. That really takes
you off
a
the hook.
lot of the
Yeah.
work out, and that's good. Okay, now do we have basically we're members of the board. I'm chairman. Are there any other positions we need to designate, like vice president or anything like that, or essentially it's the way we are?
So I'm an associate member. So
Okay.
yeah. So I guess my vote doesn't count. I get to vote, but it doesn't count. I think there's only 3 voting members on the board.
Okay.
Myself, Laverne, and Nadir at this point. Is that correct?
Oh, right.
Yes. Yeah.
That's correct.
and just for history, George, we tend to hope for unanimity across all members, including the associate
Oh,
member.
yeah. That I would hope so. And okay, well, I think here we have a public hearing that's but it's scheduled to start at 7:15. And then I know when I signed in, I saw a meeting, a notice this is being recorded. I believe we should also just officially state that this meeting is being recorded for anyone attending. And the only persons I don't recognize are the folks on the far right of my screen. Annette Oliva? Whoops, I can't hear you.
She's muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm Annette Oliver and my husband Anthony.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Are you citizens, neighbors?
They're the applicants.
Okay, that's fine. And so I think at this stage, because I'm seeing the applicants. So you are Stonehenge Luxury Homes Inc.
My name
correct?
is Emery Patterson. Yes, I'm the contractor for the Olivas.
Okay, wonderful. And do the Olivas live next door to this residence or
They do.
Yes.
okay, that's helpful to know. Are there any other neighbors present at this point? I don't see anyone, but uh,
Hi, I'm Christiane Craven from 10 Farm.
yes. And where is that in the location of this
If you're
property?
facing the duplex to the right,
Okay. And on the same side of the street
on the
or
same
the
side.
same side? Oh, so do you abut
I
the
don't think
property?
technically, because I believe the Olivas own a parcel between us that doesn't have property on it.
Okay, okay. Well, that's helpful to know.
I've not met
And
them yet. Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
okay,
It's not easy to meet neighbors on Farm
Right,
Street,
right.
so yeah, we just
No.
recently purchased.
It's a beautiful street, really. It's just picturesque. Um, and I guess, well, I suppose we should wait until 7:15. I don't know what the practice is
Yeah,
on the board here. Because, yeah, just in case someone else shows up in the
yeah.
next minute or two.
So just to back up a bit, while we kill a couple minutes, the minutes on the agenda for approval, I know, George, you weren't here for those minutes, but Laverne and obviously Alan's no longer here, so he can't approve them. I just wanted to see if, Laverne and Yadiri had a chance to review those, and if so, any edits, do they look good? Potentially approve them tonight, so we can get them filed.
Okay, I did look at those. I actually did read the minutes and they looked fine to me. There's a lot of detail in there, a lot of detail. There was a lot of
Yes.
detail in that case, but
Yep.
yeah, they looked all right.
All right.
Yeah, I did as well, and they looked good. So should we vote to adopt the minutes? I guess, George, do you want to?
Yes, I think a motion are you both in favor of adopting the minutes?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
yes. Yeah.
very good. Um, and in one more minute, we'll start our hearing. Oh, my watch says it's 7:14 and 40 seconds. I think we can get started. Uh, and normally with hearings where I've conducted, the first thing we do is invite the applicant to present their case. Clearly the building inspector refused your application to do extensive renovations on the property. And I don't think I need to read into the record the reasons why. I mean, the building inspector's uh, denial should be part of the record for this meeting. And so I think at this stage, Mr. and Mrs. Oliver, please let the board know why you think the building inspector is wrong.
So, hi, so I'm Anthony,
Yes,
and let's see, we got involved in Dover in 2003
yes,
and bought number 6 and 8 and 8A off of Mrs. Baggs over a period of time, and moved into 8 and 8A Farm Street when my daughter was 6 years old. It was always a duplex, and had one side finished my father, who never came. So when our family expanded, we lived in the whole structure up to a period of time. Since we're at the point where we want to improve the building and we don't want to tear it down, although to renovate it down to the studs and rebuild is impractical. And we wouldn't end up with a nice structure. So because the property has been there before zoning and we're not doing anything to expand the footprint, but make it better, and it also acts as a structure, as a retainer for Farm Street, Walter, the gentleman who denied it, said that was just standard procedure. That Anthony, Annette, I'm going to deny this. You'll go in front of the ZBA, you'll present the house, you'll present the project, and then you'll go on. So we're here to do that and answer any questions. Emery does nice work, and so we'd like to work with him, and feel free to ask us any questions.
Okay, we did, or I did speak with our lawyer, and I will check again, but I think it is not correct that this board has the power to grant an exception if there is a violation of the basic rule. The basic rule is it's a one-family residence zone, and the only way that something else can be on that property is if it meets certain criteria. And the primary criteria is that it has to, that the use of the property, the non-conforming use as a two-family residence, cannot have been discontinued more than 2 years before your decision to apply. So the first question we have to ask is, for this structure, this two-family structure, has it been inhabited at all within the last 2 years?
No, it has not. And COVID definitely created a problem for us to renovate, and so be it. But we're paying taxes on it ever since we arrived in town as a duplex. It was a duplex before we purchased it. You can't control some outside factors, but here we are, ready to continue to restore what we had started out to do many years ago, but unfortunately, a few things got in the way.
How old was you said your daughter was 6 years old when you moved to town and you lived in the duplex. How old is she now?
25.
25. So when did you guys move out of the duplex?
2000. Okay, go ahead.
2016.
2006.
It's actually 4.
2016.
Yes.
So it's been more than 2 years, obviously, since you've inhabited
Yes.
the structure. Yeah.
And yeah, there is non-compliance with the front and left side setbacks, but again, if it's a properly grandfathered structure, then you're allowed to proceed with it. But let me just read, it's 185-11 in our bylaws that the grandfathering provision is any lawful structures, buildings, or use of the building at the time the bylaw was adopted that created one family zone. But the exception is the structure or building cannot have been abandoned, or the use cannot have been discontinued for a period of 2 years or more. So it doesn't seem to me, I mean, abandoned is sort of a subjective thing. It depends on intention. But and at one time, council told me that this other thing, has the use been discontinued? At one time, the courts here said that was also subjective. It kind of looked at your intent, other things, but the court case now that counsel pointed out said there's just no question. This is a straight, easy to determine question of fact. Has the non-conforming use been discontinued for a period of 2 or more years? And it sounds like this has not been a two-family occupied dwelling for many years in the past. So but I would hope you'd be able to do, but I'm not sure based on what I've learned from counsel, that we've got much leeway here. Sort of getting, and what you want to do sounds very reasonable, but this is something that would apply to any structure in town like this, where the use may not be as attractive as what you're planning. But what I would say is, if you is it not possible to reconstruct this as a one-family residence? Is that just not possible?
So George, excuse me.
Yes.
Laverne, would you like to say something, Laverne? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I think George might be taking these things a little too literally, that at the Board of Appeals, it's our job to work with the people that own the house and help them get the relief that they need. The fact that this house built in 1917 and all of us bought it in 2003, and then maybe they were putting kids through college and didn't know there was a 2-year limit on how long you could leave it vacant. And different things come into play. So I don't think we should hold that against them in any way. And I know you're starting out new today, and perhaps you're taking these things rather literally, but we need to work with the applicants. And I mean, what would you have them do? Tear the place down?
Well, we're not going to make a decision at this meeting.
No, we need to take a look
not.
at it. We'll take a look
Yeah.
at it, and everybody will have other opinions for it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But what I was asking was, and I think this is what you would ask any developer, you're great people, you're residents, you live next door, but you are developers, and the question you would ask is, do you have a legal response to what the statute prohibits?
Well, George, I'm
Yeah.
first of all, I'm not an attorney.
Yeah,
I don't
know.
have Annetta and I have a family. We are not in front of bylaws. We never
Yeah.
received anything from the town that said, hey, you're paying your real estate tax, great. However, you're out of 8 Farm Street, and if you don't renovate it, you're going to lose your right. Who told us that? I mean, we're average people. We don't, we're trying to do the right thing. COVID comes in and knocks the world apart. And now, George,
Yes.
it's unreasonable to kind of like slap somebody in the face that wants to do something nice for the town. It's always been a legal two-family. My wife and I lived in it. We may move back in it and have the other side for our daughter. It's in the family. I mean, I don't get this.
Okay.
I don't get this. I'm sorry.
So this would be uh, basically for family use, for extended family use. Would that be the idea?
Well, extended, extended, my wife and I could take one side. I have 3 children. They have the option of living in the other side. I mean, we're trying to create options, and we're trying to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
something nice for the town and make Farm Street nice again. It makes no sense. We were told we wouldn't have to go in front of the ZBA if we just renovated as it is. So George, we wouldn't be here tonight if we
yeah,
were looking for some kind of terrible renovation. Okay, we're not here for that. We want to do this right. So,
yeah,
Walter told us, okay, Anthony, you want to do it right? Go in front of the ZBA, tell them what you want to do, and start. So
yeah.
that's why we're here.
So when you say
let me ask you.
right, what's right? What does right mean to you versus what you could do legally?
What is right versus what we could do legally?
Like so we can't. I guess there's a legal precedent that says you haven't been in there for 8 years, and you said you want to do something right. So right is just completely tearing it down to the foundation and starting again, versus just go right. Is that what
Well, I think right, Nancy, is today using materials that make sense, insulating it so it makes sense, not being wasteful. I think that's what right means.
okay?
I'm sorry I used that word. I'm sorry. It's
Don't
probably
worry.
not the best word, but we want to do the right thing for the structure so that it can stay there for many years. So I don't know how else to frame it.
Okay.
Can I just say a couple words?
Yeah,
So when the Oliva hired me, their intent with the duplex was to eventually move into it as a family residence. They, as far as I know, they have no intention of building this, developing it, and selling it. It's for their own use. He owns 3 of the properties. He owns both properties on either side of this. It's his homestead. And we went before Historic. Historic was very thrilled that we were going to restore this home and make it look not exactly like it is, but somewhat, make it look good again, make Farm Street look good again, and something presentable there. That foundation does hold the street up. If we were to tear that foundation down, the town might have a huge retaining wall that would have to go in there. I don't know the legal ramifications of that, but the historic committee was very thrilled that we weren't coming to tear that down. He could easily tear that down, build a bigger home further back on the property, and profit from that property way more than what this would ever bring. But this, as they explained to me, was for their use for their family. And we get that a lot. I build a lot of homes in Wellesley, Weston, all over the place. And we find a lot of people are looking to cohabitate with one of their siblings to take care of them when they're older.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet, but I know I'm going to be. And my daughter's
See,
always offered. She said, "Dad, come and live with me." It's a great situation. It's a great piece of property. When it's completed, it could look really good. And again, it's not somebody like me that came in and bought this and said, "Oh, we don't care what the rules are
right.
or how they changed. We're just going to build this for profit, and who cares about what it is." They've lived there. They've owned this property. Nobody really told them that the zoning laws changed. I think possibly they may have done something if that was the case, but that is their intention, is to make this their homestead. Historic is very thrilled with the fact that we're going to do something nice there that is again a duplex. They aren't really thrilled about tearing the thing down, tearing it down and doing another home back further back on the property. So they felt that it is like a landmark to Dover, to the town. It is a landmark. And it's, they felt that rebuilding it would be a great idea. So we get the blessings from historic. Now we need, the grace of the ZBA to work with us on this. But again, it's not a developer coming in to profit on this. It's their homestead. So
Yeah.
I
Mr.
think that
Chairman,
does make a big difference.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should schedule a site visit.
Can I just ask quickly, to the extent that it's being viewed as historic, I guess, doesn't that work against the idea of tearing it down to the foundation, right? Wouldn't you want to preserve the sort of historic quality of the actual building, or is the idea just that where it's located has some level of historic value in the minds of those that were reviewing it before?
The historic did a site visit with us and
Sure.
walked through it. The problem with the house is it's very dilapidated. So to restore the upper two floors, rebuild those, it makes more sense in today's world to, instead of having 2x4 walls with minimal insulation, do 2x6 walls. There's some mold in the house. There's been, water leaking in and stuff like that. So the historic committee felt that it would be much better to rebuild, but they were very thrilled that we weren't changing the footprint at all. It has a root cellar on the left side of the house. It's kind of unique, and they were happy about, keeping it there and making it good looking again for Farm Street.
So does,
So,
does,
so
the- does the design, the new design mimic the old house?
It's similar, not exact, but similar.
can I ask, Annette and Anthony, did you either of you consider the idea of relocating the house, creating a single house, and then leveraging the accessory dwelling unit kind of, regulations that pass that allow you to build sort of a second dwelling unit on the same property to get that same sort of, family estate that you're describing,
No,
desiring?
no, because we want to preserve the open land. We don't want to put another structure in the back. This is right up in the front. No, I know that's a possibility, but we're not interested in that. Thank you.
And I bet where that is, you probably allow the hunt to go across in the back and other riders. I mean, do you keep your land open
Well,
in the
what,
back?
George,
And would this prevent, if you had to build something larger, would that prevent that courtesy?
well, yes, it would.
It definitely could.
But currently you can't get, so if you come from Springdale Field, you can't go across your property anymore. You used to be able to go across that property, but you can't, you don't allow anyone to go back there anymore.
Well, Nancy,
Right.
we had to stop because there were a lot of problems. There were horses running through the property. People fell off horses. People would leave litter. Dogs running through the property. Our kids were young, and so
Yeah.
we had to. I'm sorry, we had to do that, Nancy. But
No, I just because George was assuming that you could, that the hunt could go back, George, I think years ago they stopped that when
Right.
And that actually
Yeah,
would
makes sense. Sure.
impact how we decide. But yeah, I think, okay, what we should do, let's go through the other things that need to be established where we get some facts for the record. Uh, I I think you can detect all of us would like to do this, but I believe all of us would like to do this, but uh, we've got to deal with this. I mean, honestly, in some ways, if we had a town meeting coming up in the not so distant future, I would think possibly a special statute that would just overrule this for this property, subject to some conditions. That would be the way to do it, because town meeting can change a law. Uh, but but you want to get started on your construction pretty soon, correct?
hoping
You
to.
don't want to wait for our next town meeting.
No.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me ask the things that we need to establish. First, the building has been two-story since I mean two families since what date? What was the date when it first became two-family, roughly?
1917.
1917. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was
And
two-family when we bought it in 2003.
you bought it in 2003.
Right.
Bought it. And you lived in it yourself, but as I guess with two two two, it was still two units within
Right.
Full
within
duplex,
the house.
yes.
Correct.
Yes,
Right.
that's right. And your family as it's growing, yeah,
Right.
they can take up a lot of room. So you lived there
Exactly.
until 2016.
Right.
And
Did you, sorry, did you live at 6 Farm Street? Is that what I also heard, or did I misunderstand? Do you,
We live at 6 Farm Street now.
you live at 6 Farm Street? So is the house then vacant and has been vacant entirely since 2016? Is that the idea?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Got it. And then, so at some point though, you did live there, or you just have bought the property in 2003 and then it sort of stayed empty?
We lived there since 2003 until 2016.
Got it. Okay. And it was just you and your daughter, as I understood it?
Three kids.
3 children.
3 kids,
Three
sorry.
kids.
Okay.
Right.
All in one side, or did you spread out?
Well, when the family expanded, we opened up a wall.
Got it. So is it now integrated into one house then?
No, it's still a 2-family.
But sorry, what wall did you take down then? Just out of
We
curiosity.
took down the wall.
Well, we made a doorway between the two units, but it's
That's it,
still,
okay.
there's kitchen on both sides, and so it's
Yep.
technically 2 units.
Got it.
Which property did you buy first?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, which properties did you buy from Mrs. Baggs first? 8 or A and
Yes,
six?
the
No,
duplex.
6.
6?
We bought 6 first from Mrs. Bag.
That bought the duplex first, eh?
No, they wanted to get rid of 6 first. We bought number 6 first. And then 6 months later, I believe we bought 8 and 8A.
Got it, okay.
Mhm.
You never, so you lived in the duplex for many years and then you tore down 6 and rebuilt the house at 6, okay.
Right.
well, I think the other things that are on the checklist for this, uh, if a building has been damaged so that that's by fire or any other use, and our council believe that would include a voluntary demolition. Uh, uh, is is that going to affect the fair market value of the house by 3/4 or more?
Stupid question.
I have no idea what that,
Yeah, I mean,
I guess
basically,
I don't know what that means.
after this work, if you didn't do anything else, you just did the demolition, would the building, don't count the land, but would the building be worth 25% of what it is worth today? Or would it be worth less than 25%?
No idea.
Because that's the other thing the building inspector cites. We've got another rule that basically says if you are a permitted non-conforming use, and then you have a fire that burns down half of it, you're allowed to rebuild and still stay non-conforming. But if there is a fire, or if you decide to demolish and take away 3/4 or more the value of the building, then you lose the grandfather. You have to, basically, it says you have to rebuild according to the new rules if it has been basically pretty much demolished. That's what the statute says. So I guess the question of fact is, after you do this work and before you start rebuilding, is that going to take away at least 3/4 of the value of the house?
George, can I just, I'm a little
Sure.
confused.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused, but what I want to say is the structure as it is right now, standing right now, there's water damage, there's mold. And when they built it in 1917, the materials of the structurally, the way it was built then is inferior to today.
Yeah.
So as it stands, we want to improve it. So we haven't torn anything down, but it doesn't make sense. The only way to improve it is to take it apart. And taking it apart.
Exactly. But this is, you're talking reasonable. Right now, we're just looking at the law and to see how to address what the law says. Okay. So right now, the building right now isn't worth very much because of all this damage, correct?
I'm not sure what damage you're
I
talking
mean, what does the tax assessor assess the building for?
I
To
don't
get
know.
an idea.
We just pay the taxes. I'm not sure.
Yeah, beyond your, and that doesn't mean anything, but basically, what the law says, the Dover law, is that you lose grandfathering, even if the building is grandfathered itself, that if you take down more than 75% of the value, then the law says you lose the grandfathering for the building. You gotta then conform with the law, which would say if you take it down that much, you have to build a one-family house. That's what the law says. Unless you say that it's not going to take away 75% of the value, what you're planning.
Maybe I can ask the question slightly different. What George is trying to get at is sort of the quirky language of the law, which so say the building is valued at $100 today. You know, once you tear it down, how much do you think the sort of foundation, as I understand it, and the first floor, you know, the cement kind of flooring is sort of worth? And I imagine it would be less than 25, right? That sort of the sort of destroyed building would have very little value, even if the shell that currently exists is not, you know, in particularly good shape. Does that sound about right? Or
Well, I guess you could say that it must have a lot of value. It would have a lot of value for the town because
the land, separate from that.
foundation is holding up the whole Farm Street on that side.
Right.
So,
well, here's
I don't
another
know,
way
you
of
could
looking at it.
make that
Right now,
point.
Am I right that it is such a mess because of mold, everything else, that if you were just selling the building the way it is, you might have to pay somebody to buy it. Is it that bad? No. Okay.
So if I
Because
look, George, I'm looking at their assessed values on the GIS map. So the land is worth $772,000. The building is being assessed at $368,000.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
So is it, and what's 75% of that number, just to get an idea of
75% of the 368 or 75% of the total?
Of the 368.
$276,000.
Okay, so subtracting that from the 368, we get with, or maybe we should say what's 25%.
92,000.
Okay, after you do your work, and not in the demolition, after you've done the demolition, is it worth more or less than $92,000?
More.
That was the number you got, right?
More. It's worth more.
More than, yeah, so if you did that demolition, it'd be worth more than 92.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
The
So
foundation
just-
and the structure that's there would cost more than that to rebuild.
Okay, let's be sure we get that in the record. Emery, and we've got to get your last name and
Patterson.
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 Okay. And you're a contractor, engineer, what are you?
I'm a contractor. I do a lot of work. I do work in Dover, a lot of work in Wellesley, new homes, remodeling, in some of the finest homes that money can buy.
Wonderful. And and how many years have you been doing this?
Since 1975.
Okay. Well, you look
Been
so
business
young.
on my own since 1982.
Okay. Well,
Almost when you moved to Dover.
yeah. So, but basically, we can enter into the record that simply because of the value of the foundation and things that would stay, that the structure itself is worth more than 25% of the value today.
It definitely
So
is.
that gets over this hurdle of the thing. So the only thing we're really looking at under the statute is this problem of a discontinued use for more than 2 years. Now,
They've actually used it. It's still in use. They use the.
well, let's get
It has
into
a-
that. Tell me. How do we flesh that out?
Yeah. So they do. I was actually surprised too. They do use it. There's the structure of the garage in the basement is excellent. It's actually built like a parking garage. I was surprised when I saw it. But they do use that. They have cars in there. They have different things in there, and I know Anthony goes in and out of there a lot. They're not technically sleeping overnight in there, but they are using that basement structure.
Okay, so well, we're not really using it, but it's in use
Yes.
right now by one family. Have you ever considered? I think I know the answer, but have you ever considered whether you did it or not, renting it in the last 2 years? Could you maybe? Or I want you to be honest. I mean,
No, well,
but yeah.
George, if we were gonna rent it, we'd want it presentable.
Right.
And
right.
so we're not gonna rent, there could be lead paint,
Yeah, no,
we're not doing it for the money.
I hear you. I hear you. Uh, okay.
You're not gonna rent this. This is gonna be a family property. This is not a rental in the future. Outside of your family, perhaps renting it from you.
Well, we don't want to box ourselves into a corner, Nancy. It's we're kind of private, but somebody in town might need a unit. Sandy, who lives next door, is trying to sell his family property and knocked on our door and said, gee, I might need a place to live. Is that a possibility? So, we're trying to expand our capacity to, dwell with others besides our family.
Why does it have to be a two-family rather than on uh, that area building a one-family? I'm just curious. Why does it have to be two-family?
But excuse me, George, but why not? There actually is. We're in a separate area outside of town, within a mile of the town center. And this property does allow for 4 dwellings per dry acre if somebody like Emery came in and wanted to develop this property. So to have a duplex on this property that can already have, I guess the town would have to vote on it, sort of like Jimmy's property on Springdale. But because we're within a mile of the center of town, there is a multi-use possibility of this property
Mhm.
Also,
That's right. Yeah, the 40, you're saying an affordable housing, a 40B
well,
project.
I'm not sure, George, if it's a 40B, but we're in the, all I can say is we're in the overlay district that this property will allow for 4 houses per dry acre. That's what we were told in the beginning. We knew that, but all we're trying to do is
Yeah. Yeah.
renovate the
Renovate
two-foot.
two-family.
Sorry, that doesn't
Yeah,
quite
but that's
reconcile.
not zoning. That's not zoning. That's something else. Okay, not here.
Yeah, just I'm confused about that point because I think if you could build 4 houses per acre, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? It
Well,
strikes me if this is
We're
zoned for
not
one.
interested in doing
We're
that.
not
No,
interested
but
in it.
sorry, but even beyond that, right? That the reason we're here is that you can only have one. It's a single family house on the lot. You'd have to subdivide the lot to be even engaging in that piece, right? So
It's not a single family, it's a duplex. We pay
right
tax.
now, but we're in a zone where only single family homes, and that's kind of why we're having this discussion because absent kind of the ZBA process, I think it would have to be done in conformity, which would be a single family home, right?
Nadir, I'm not sure. Go ahead, Laverne.
I have a question about, I'm reading this 10 times. Chapter 18511 prohibits reestablishing a use that has been discontinued. I know people that have gone back to England for 3 years and come back to their house in Dover. Were they not allowed to move back in because they were gone for 3 years? I don't understand this. Chapter 185 prohibits reestablishing a use that has been discontinued. So if you moved away and came back 3 years later, you're not allowed to move back in. I don't get that. Whoever wrote
Yeah.
this,
Well, it's because
years ago.
actually this statute
Needs to be
is
removed.
yeah, but this statute is practically a clone of the state law because the state law actually says it has a rule about grandfathering, and the state law says towns can have a grandfathering law also, but and it can have either or both of these things. It was abandoned, or the non-conforming use wasn't used for 2 years. So, that what I would say is certainly if it were a two-family that ended up being vacant because you couldn't find tenants and it was, it's still being used as a two-family. It's just, so it doesn't have to be occupied for 2 years. But if the use itself has been discontinued, and it actually sounds like it hasn't been used as a two-family for decades.
So,
Uh,
George,
2016.
what does we have books on the bookshelves there. A lot of things have been damaged by water. I guess I'm really confused on what might be. It's not abandoned for sure. We've been taking care of it. We're not living in it. We're not cooking in it. But we were told to shut the well off, shut the electricity off. These are things we were told to do. But
Just recently, though, Anthony, that was just within the past couple months. We were told that to prep for the demolition.
Yeah.
For the rebuild.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we need to do a site visit to get the big picture here and really understand the circumstances.
Yeah, I think that's fine, but actually, and we certainly can schedule that. But I think what we have to also do is because I'll tell you, without a site visit, it sounds like they're going to do a great job. I mean, it'll be nice to see it, but I think here it is just a question of right now, do we have a way of getting around what is a very, very clear statute? And if remember, when you decide to get around a statute for one case that is favorable, you can be stuck with that for other cases. And, so I think my feeling is based on this record. I mean, I've heard some, there's no question about the good intentions of people, but I'd like to hear from our council. Do they have a choice other than rebuilding as a single family house? I think if the council says no, or, then I think the next thing would be, is there a way we can change the law? And town meeting can change laws, but that takes a while. Yeah.
So George, forgive me for butting in.
No, it's fine. No, we're trying to get to this, but
well, thank you. We've lost so much time, and we thought about avoiding going in front of the ZBA by just taking everything down to the stud and re-stick building it. However, the cost to do that and ending up with an inferior product didn't make sense to us. But we can do that, and everything that you raised.
You can't do it as a two-family, but you're not going to get a building permit for that. So I don't think you're going to try to build without a permit.
No, but George, Walter said as long as we kept it like it was and didn't change it, the roof line or anything, we could renovate that structure. That's what Walter told us. But because we wanted to improve it and fix the roof,
yeah.
This is why we're here. So,
I don't know if that's the case. If I'm looking at 185-10, I don't think you can rebuild a duplex.
That's right. It's more to take it down. Yeah, that's right.
You can only rebuild, if you rebuilt this, you can only rebuild it as a single family.
So Nancy, are you saying you can't remodel a duplex?
Yes, according to 185-10, in an R2, you can't.
Well, it doesn't make sense in modern living that you can't rebuild something and make it better.
Yeah, I know. I'm just looking at what the town approved back in 1978. And
so how many duplexes are there in town?
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
Probably three. There's probably three.
Right. George was talking about that if you approve this for a two-family, it sort of sets a precedent. But if there's only 3 other duplexes in town, I don't see that as a problem.
And one of them has already been completely rebuilt at 1 Taylor Lane.
Right.
That's a little tiny one, and they made it twice as big, and that has already been redone. Have the other members of the board received the letter from Anderson Krieger from our legal team? Have you all read that letter?
Yeah.
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's where I got this 185-10 basically says, a multifamily residence is prohibited in R2.
Yeah. Did you read the conclusion? Did you read the conclusion that they made at the very end?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to share because I'm reading all these things on my phone because my printer doesn't work and I was away, and just want to make sure everybody read that. It is very confusing.
But I'll just offer, Anthony, to your question about sort of the renovation. I think that's a question that we're not really being asked, and that, I think for us, the question is really being presented as based on the application that what's our kind of view on the tear down question, right? Because I think if the answer is no, then the question you could go back to Walter about is sort of what a renovation looks like separate from the rebuild that we're here for today.
Yeah, and would he issue a building?
That's the question.
Right.
But we're
that's for Walter to determine.
Thank you, Nadir. But we're not interested in doing it that way because it's not. It just doesn't. The structure's not going to be. You want to be happy with the result. You're trying to do something better.
Lipstick.
Yeah. Fair.
And Taylor Lane, Laverne, that's a big, that was a big renovation, that duplex.
Yeah, I think they tore it down, because
Yeah.
it's way bigger than what it was. It looks lovely, but it was definitely a little tiny house with 2 doors. Now it's big.
Yeah,
So
that was a complete rebuild.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So we're not doing a complete rebuild. We're trying to.
Foundation, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think in that particular situation, well, some of this is council talking to us, so which is privileged. But when we do discuss this among ourselves, because we're not going to make a decision tonight, I think we can certainly ask our council for ways to grant some relief here, so that they could do what they want and retain it as a two-family structure rather than building it as a one-family structure. And I think that is what we do. And here, listen, in terms of being practical, if we don't have lots of these other structures in town, and if the board seems to have allowed it in the case of the Taylor Lane, even though I can tell you that was legally incorrect, then I don't know. I simply, I think we're at a point now where we've heard this. I don't really see personally a real value for a site visit. I mean, I think this is, but certainly if the board wants to attend, visit there, that's fine. That's fine, but it's not going to change the black and white of the law. It's just not. And I think all of us, from what I see, would be very interested in granting some relief. So we just need to have our lawyer tell us that we're not starkly in violation of the law. Simple as that. And if that's the if it is in violation of the law, my feeling is, and this is personal. Hey, you're just getting to know me, but I do believe you need to address this in our position just the way court would address it, and follow the law and get the law changed when it isn't what you want. And there's a process for changing with town meeting. And so but let's and again, we're a 3-member board. It does not be otherwise. It's good to have unanimity. But I think the next step for us would be to speak with our lawyer. And why don't I set up a conference call for the board to speak with him, if you like, or her, and then we can all proceed from there. I mean, again, we all would like to grant the relief, but I think we owe it to the town to follow the law. And that's, so I'd like to hear from the lawyer myself. This is not an area that I practice in. Emery, your testimony is very helpful because it does get us past the 75% demolition.
Well, we would appreciate any considerations from the zoning board to help us out on this and figure out a way to grandfather it. And I understand that it sets precedents, possibly, but I think if it's written properly, there's a way to get around that. You're talking about a very minute scale here of other duplexes. There's a few of them. So even if it's set precedents and you had 2 or 3 other ones that were allowed to rebuild, that's not such a big deal.
Hey,
so in the grand scheme of things.
Sure. For the Historic Commission, have they is there something in writing, or is that all just conversational?
There is no, we went before the historic board, I think it was less than 2 months ago.
Okay, could you
There is
could you
something in
send us
writing,
that,
yes.
Emery? Would you send that to us and we'll enter that into the record?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you. Okay, are there, I don't think there are any neighbors or citizens who want to comment. Is there anything else from board members? Yeah, because if so, we're not gonna close the hearing. We're going to continue the hearing, and uh, uh, we'll need to just find a date that works and is within the statutory deadline. I think we've got 60 days to make a decision. I'm not sure, but hopefully we don't run past that. And if we did, normally applicants would agree with the board to extend rather than have something denied. So I think that is it. Send us the historical thing. We're going to speak with our lawyer,
Okay.
and then we'll set something up. See what we can do.
That sounds great. I appreciate your time and your efforts to try to help us out on this. So thank you. Thank you
Listen,
all.
you're all lovely people, and
Thank you.
yeah, let's
Thank you very much.
look forward to seeing you. You bet.
Same here.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Should I just board? I think it may as well close, and I hit the. Oh, I don't think I'm in a position to shut off the Zoom. Who is
Chairman,
or
Mr. Chairman, you should query the applicants and the board members for a continuation date.
Yeah,
Okay.
continuation date. Well, the
all
applicants,
right? Yeah, that's okay. Well, let's look at the date, and some of that's going to depend on the availability of council. But let me just see here. Would you like to shoot for maybe August, uh, the week of August 19th somewhere?
I'm free before that.
Huh?
I'm free before, today's for August 1st. Maybe
Yeah, I know I'm going to be away next week, and I don't know what others' plans are in August, but the week of the 19th is good for me. The week of the 26th is pretty good.
And this is to have the meeting with town council?
No, we'll try to set up a meeting. Well, what we're doing now, we're and I wonder. I think what we're doing is we're setting up a date for all of us to meet with the Olivers, and that we hopefully will have spoken with council prior to that date.
Okay, so we'll have a clearer view of what our job is.
That's right. Yeah, I'd like. I mean, our lawyers are very, very good, and just see if there is some way of getting around this. And there's this one case involving Lakeville that really is a tough one. They cite that in the memo. I read that case today. Okay, so what's the date for all of us together? How about to give us time, make sure we do it August 22nd, a Thursday? Would that be okay with everyone?
That works for me.
Sure.
Great.
That works for me.
Okay, so we'll continue the hearing until then.
Sorry, what about the applicants? Does that work for you?
Oh, thank you, Nadia. My wife is just checking. Honey, is that good, honey?
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine, Nadia. Joy,
Thank you. Okay.
Chris,
Yeah.
Nancy.
Yeah, actually, for something like this where we're not hitting a deadline, I don't believe we actually would need the applicant's permission unless things have changed. Where we need your permission is if we're hitting a deadline. But I think it's good. We want to work together. So August 22nd, 7 p.m. And let's all get together. And board members, what I'll do, I'll check with council and see if we can get a date for a Zoom call. and, just go over where we are. Okay.
But
What?
Chris, would you manage the notice of the meeting? Because I think we have to publish that. Does
Yeah,
that
we
give
will
us
have to, we will have to turn that around to get the hearing notice out. I believe it has to be posted for 2 consecutive weeks before the hearing. So, provided it's, we get it. Trying to think of the lead time for the newspaper.
Like tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll submit it tomorrow, and
That's
hopefully
okay,
it'll go for the
Yeah.
8th, and that'll be 2 weeks for the 22nd. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's more formal than we did when we used to actually have our hearings. Maybe things have changed, but we did not find ourselves re-advertising when we were continuing an advertised hearing. But Chris, that's
no,
we have to.
that's the key question, right? And that's one I unfortunately don't have the answer for. But if we'll ask that question, if we don't need to repost again, then we won't, and we'll do the 22nd. But if we do, I think the chosen date, it sounds like we'll meet that deadline anyway. So that'll just be a quick,
22nd. Okay.
yeah. So
Great.
that'll be a quick question for us tomorrow.
Good. Will you be able to do that, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's super.
So
Okay,
we'll take care of that.
But yeah, let's pencil in the 22nd. Hopefully we can save the advertising fee. That's it for all of us taxpayers.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody.
Great, thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you. It's nice meeting you.
Chairman,
Same here.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you.
Okay.
Very much.
motion to continue the meeting on August 22nd, 7 p.m.
Yes. Is
So
that
moved.
okay?
Sounds great.
Yes, thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay. All in favor? I'm in favor. And would I guess next we need a motion to adjourn unless there's any other business.
So moved.
Seconded.
All
Aye.
in favor? Aye.
Okay. Hey, that's great. Okay. Okay.
All
Talk
right.
to you soon. Well, hey, bye-bye.
All right, thanks everybody.
Bye-bye, Chris.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.